Welcome back, listeners. It's a pleasure to have you join us here today. And as you know, my name is Cade Curtis, your tour guide on this lovely adventure that I like to call Learning from Friends. And as my usual listeners know, before I start into any episode, I always do a quote from my mom. Except for today, it's going to be a little different. Mom, take it away.
Today's quote is from Danny Steele. Here's to all the teachers who are flying under the radar, not getting much attention. Their engaging lessons aren't on Twitter. Their cool interactions with kids aren't captured on YouTube, but they're still crushing it, and they're making a difference for a lot of students.
Thanks, Mom, for that. It really means a lot to hear quotes like that really inspire and encourage the teachers that are out there, which is why today I'm going to continue on with the conversation from Miss Mullins. And I wanted to make sure I used that quote because of how impactful and important her impact was on me as a student, as a musician, and as a teacher as I go forward. So thanks, Mom. And just so y'all know, as the season goes along, I will be inserting in some of these quotes from my mom from time to time, because some of these already have recorded multiple months out in advance, and some of them I have not. So it'll be a little surprise or a gift from time to time when they get placed in some of these recordings. So to pick back up a little bit of where we were in the conversation, Miss Mullins had introduced to us a little bit of her background before getting into music with her family, and we would get into the details about how she became a band director in Cherokee County at Teasley Middle School. It's a great story. If you get the opportunity to go back and listen to it, it will really help better explain the full picture of who is Pam Mullins. So we're going to pick up here where we left off from the previous episode. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did recording it. You mentioned on being an assistant director in the high school. Mm-hmm. This is something that was a question that one of my friends reached out and goes, hey, I just want you to ask this question of the becoming an assistant band director. What is the requirements really for them to need that extra band director there? Because I know some of the schools in Cherokee County, sorry, Cherokee County School District, so I'm calling you out on this one, but they've taken away some of the assistant band directors at the high school level, and they've got 100+ kids that are in there. I'm like, why?
There's a set number, usually a set number. What the magic number is now, I don't know. You have to have, I'm just going to be arbitrary, you have to have 120 people in your band program. I'm just lying. I don't know what it is. I don't
theoretical numbers, but there is a number there.
You have to have 120 that you see every single day, class by class, before they'll ever hire somebody full-time for you or part-time for you, that kind of thing. Now, Cherokee High School's got a full-time assistant band director now.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. In fact, he's a former student of mine.
Oh, that's cool. You gotta love that. Mm-hmm. Whenever your passion being kind of pushed forward.
I love it. Yeah, he was a percussionist for me at Cherokee. Yeah. In fact, he marched with me in his sub-freshman year.
Oh, so yeah, from 8th grade kind of coming up. I was a Band-Aid whenever I did my 8th grade year.
And that's a fun time being a Band-Aid.
Oh, I loved being a Band-Aid.
That's fun.
That was fun.
Katie
I enjoyed it.
was a Band-Aid when she was in 7th grade. Yeah, she loved it.
And there was 4 of us, and I loved every bit of it going through.
Yeah, and you got to wear your uniform.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a cool thing, you know.
I think my legs locked once because I didn't understand to not lock your legs at one point.
Oh, yeah.
It happens. I learned.
Yes,
you live and learn.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
But it was good to go through band camp and to see kind of what's happening. That introduction before going through it, I was able to share that knowledge with other band members back in middle school.
Who were a little bit freaked out and scared.
Yeah. So it was kind of like being an ambassador.
Yeah, it is.
Which was really cool.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a magic. There's a magic number out there to have somebody that can be in your classroom every day as the assistant. In marching season, you can have an assistant that there is a stipend that somebody that's teaching in this, usually teaching in the system, you can be your band director. At Cherokee, when I was at Teasley, I was always the assistant at Cherokee. But when Fred was doing the band there, he wasn't. He didn't want to do it, so he didn't. And I don't know who they had there. That was when, I guess, David Harrison was at Cherokee and Jim Berry. I don't know who they had as their official assistant in marching season because that was before I came on the scene. But I understood that I was supposed to take that job as the band director, but I learned later that you could opt to not do it. Barbara Jones, who was at Dean Rusk for years, she didn't want to be the assistant in marching season at Sequoia, so she never was. It was somebody else that David had during marching season only.
Yeah, and I know you have a bunch of other former students coming in and helping out with, say, the woodwinds, and you had someone coming in and helping out with trombones and stuff. With those, were they given a stipend, or was it like, hey, no, you're just volunteering your time to come in and help out?
They were not paid by the county. They were paid. Sometimes they were volunteer because they just wanted to help, and we were poor too. But band boosters would pay them. A lot of times, the band booster would pay them, and they'd have a set amount, And there were some times when in concert season, I rarely had the amount of money, and so I would just ask like somebody that would come in and help us for concert festival, come in and do the trumpet sectional for me every once in a while. And they loved to do it. And it was up front, I would tell them, I don't have any money to pay you. Do you still want to come? And most of the time they say, yeah, I'd like to come and help. Again, remember, but the kids like to come and help because they
want to give back.
Yeah, and they still loved being able to do that kind of thing. And to help kids that aren't quite up yet to the next level.
Yeah, it's in that aha factor of, for them, it gives them if they're going into music, because, hey, I have this experience put on my resume, or, hey, I have something more that helped keep me in my path going forward, a refresher. So it definitely goes a long way.
Yeah.
Now here comes some of the hard questions of, how did you choose a theme for marching band? That was a multiple questions that people brought up of, how did you choose?
I had a hard time. As soon as the marching season was wrapped up, I began trying to figure out what we could possibly do for the next time. And I started listening. Music publishing companies all over the United States will send you demo tapes of what they have that's published. And you kind of start from there and see what comes in the mail as to what might be something you could piece together into a halftime show. Or do you think maybe, it's time for me to put my most favorite group out there, that kind of thing. Let's do that one. And then sometimes you come up with bupkis, nothing. When I was at Cherokee, I talked to someone like Fred, and when Justin Norton was there, I talked to him. What do you think? Maybe you got some ideas what we might want to do for halftime? I'm all ears, that kind of stuff. And I'd bat it around to finally, it's just like whatever kept bobbing up to the surface.
That's what you would go with.
And then finally it would be one bobber in the water, that kind of thing, And then we would go from there and then trying to figure out, like one year I had Paul Simon.
I love that show. That was my freshman year.
Was it?
Loved that year.
That was a great show.
There were so many little jokes that I can't put out there because of the humor that was a part of it, but there was just so much joy.
Man, cleaning your pool.
Yeah, exactly. Love that one.
Yes. But that I had always wanted to play that song, You Can Call Me Al.
That was the one that we had. Which is
what we opened up.
We had the saxophone quartet that came in on that one.
Mm-hmm. And we opened up, but that was our opener. But I had that Stan's tune all the way back when I was at Teasley. And I kept a hold of it because I loved the arrangement. And it was a great song. And I knew it had a smoking brass part of it. And it could be a great halftime show somehow. And I thought, I'll just hold this back for at some point, this is going to come to the forefront and be the bobber in the water. And then once I had that in my mind, then I think Shane Hicks. Do you remember Shane Hicks?
Doesn't ring a bell right now in my head.
He helped me a lot with percussion, and he was doing percussion that time. And I said, Shane.
Oh wait, now I do remember Shane.
He's a great guy, and a great drummer. He and my older daughter Shannon, they're the same age. They were in band together, and I said, we need 4 songs, and I like. You can call me Al, and
Diamond on the Soles of Your Shoes, wasn't it?
He was the one that suggested Diamond on the Soles of Your Shoes.
That was the one we did the saxophone quartet thing in the front. I don't know why I had.
Well, You Could Call Me Al has that middle part that's got the piccolo going da 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 da. And I had the piccolo had the Barry sax in the middle, who was Jason Schuster, and then I had 4 piccolo players, and they did a marching formation around him.
Yeah.
Because if you hear it goes, it's just a piccolos and then just a Barry sax.
The drop like the bass line.
It's just
carrying it.
Yeah. And so we did that. So we had that one, and we had Late in the Evening. And what is the other one?
maybe it'll click at some
And then,
in my brain.
but I couldn't think of a fourth one, and that was the diamonds on the soles of his shoes. And Shane suggested that one because
What
I
was the
didn't.
drum feature? What was the...
Cecilia.
Yeah,
That's it. Cecilia.
You're breaking my heart. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good one. So anyway, you just kind of hold on to bits and pieces till they kind of migrate into this puzzle.
That's a hard decision too, because you made some people happy, you made some people angry and sad, and it's always a hard one.
It's very hard. The year that I did, were you with me when I did Fun Factory?
Yeah, that was.
It was all the
senior year. That was senior year.
Cartoon themes. I actually had a couple of parents that thought that was beneath us, that were cartoon themes.
I thought it was enjoyable. Just because of all it was little bits of here and there, and it was your culture.
It was fun. I thought it was fun, and it just because it wasn't Beethoven's Ninth, and besides, nobody's going to listen to that at halftime anyway.
No,
they're going to go out and get a hot dog.
You're gone. Yeah.
They're not. They're going to go to the restroom and get a Coke and a hot dog. They're not going to come and watch. You wanted something that's crowd pleasing.
Pirates, sophomore year, no one left the stands. Everybody
That was a good
stayed.
one. That was the most unique opening. No, that's one of the most unique. I did that Nautilus in the corner. We started with the Nautilus in the corner and spiraled it out till it finally came to the center field. That was cool. That was
And then at the end, throw in the Jolly Roger at the end.
Yeah.
That y'all spent forever in the barn painting. Yeah.
Yes, that imprint is still on the floor of our barn.
Oh,
it is.
That's a lot of paint.
Yes. But that was fun.
I wonder who wound up with that. Do you still have it, or
no? I never got.
No.
I don't have it.
I was wondering who. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they cut it up for souvenirs. I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah. Who knows? I don't remember anything happening after it.
I don't know. The first year I was there, I wanted to do a patriotic show, and I already knew what I wanted to do with it. I wanted to open up with Yankee Doodle, and I asked Fred to arrange me a marching band version of Yankee Doodle.
Oh, wow.
And so I played his version of Yankee Doodle as our opener.
That's amazing to have that small little
It
connections.
was fun. It was fun. And at the very beginning, I had borrowed an old looking, like a Revolutionary War drum. Not real, but
the replicas that they
that
make.
kind of stuff where they did reenactments, that kind of stuff. So I borrowed that. The head snare, I played that, and they had one little pick player do
the piccolo piece.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Anyway, so that's how we opened up, with just the snared player and the piccolo doing Yankee Doodle, that kind of stuff. And in the background, the entire band was doing these intricate marching that was hard to do when you're playing. So we did it
as that introduction should come in.
Because we weren't doing anything else. And then right before everybody started playing, we were all in a company front, and we did a dead man drill.
Oh, I remember those. Oh, and that's
if
dangerous.
If you didn't duck at the right time, you got smacked in the head. Yep. And what was even more dangerous was when you lined up for the company front at the beginning of the halftime show, you had to count off. And sometimes you were not always A, sometimes you were B.
And so
A was when you had to duck on 1, and B was when you had to duck on 2. And you had to remember, I'm B this time, I have to duck on 2. And it was different because if there was somebody that was missing that Friday night.
Always had to shift and accommodate.
And the kids had to be really, really smart marchers. And see, nobody understood how hard that was. It could have been, theoretically, you could have had a different position, never had the same position two Friday nights in a row for the dead man drill alone. And I was so proud of those kids because I kept telling them, I know you can do this. I know you can do this.
Yeah, and I remember towards the end, you were running the color guard through the middle of the field, and they had to hit the right spot to get in between.
Yes.
As well, like the flag.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So hard to get those little intricate details.
That was great. And when we unfurled the flag, it was all worth it. But yeah, you had to tell the band kids, you do your part. The color guard will do their part. Don't think their part, and they're not going to think your part.
Nope.
You got to do your thing.
Yep. I always had to have that separation there.
Yes.
That was the year I was a Band-Aid. So that was my band. So I was seeing it all from right first, front and center.
Okay.
Yeah.
I stole that flag idea.
Beg, borrow, steal as a teacher.
And I asked him first. Doug Long was the band director at Cherokee when I was at Teasley, and I was his assistant. And the year Katie was a field assistant at the high school, he was the high school band director. And he ended with some patriotic thing anyway, but he did that same flag run-through thing with the stripes and stuff,
Yes.
And so, but what happened was we went to a festival, and something happened, and one of the kids that was supposed to run the stripes was out, and Katie, being the field assistant, got shoved in there to run it instead. And so,
that's scary.
It is scary, but she, everything all happened well. We were always afraid, though, that, how the field of stars is supposed to be in the upper left-hand corner.
Yes.
That they would accidentally be in the lower right-hand corner. It's like, no!
You never know if someone's going to wind up someone catching with the flag or someone's catching an instrument.
Don't pick up the wrong bundle and run with it. No. But anyway, it all worked out, but you always held your breath. It was like, is the flag going to turn out right this time, or is it going to be upside down?
I remember we had to run and get those and get it right in the bag really quickly. There was band parents, there was the Band-Aids running.
That was tough. Tough. But again, smart marchers.
Yes.
How smart are these students to be able to do all this kind of stuff? And everybody around you, they're just looking like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
They don't realize how hard that was. Oh, my gosh.
And putting in the time
so
to do
intricate.
it.
And playing music all at the same time.
Now, how do you come up with a drill? Like
I wrote that
music,
drill.
got the drill.
I wrote that drill. I had, at some point, when I was still a college student, you had to take marching band drill. You had to learn how to do it. But that was in the days before. I mean, think about that. Okay, I graduated in August of 75. Here we are, at least when I'm writing the drill, it's like 2000 or something.
Yeah, 25 years later.
Yeah. And so it's computer. Well, I bought a computer program for learning how to do marching band drill. First of all, now you remember how awful it was with a computer. I'm just so technologically
struggle with it. That's okay.
Still,
I'm becoming an old man with yelling at technology now.
Okay, well, all right. Well, I was never been good at it, and back then it was even harder because of the computers the way they are with the floppy disk and all that kind of junk.
How slow they were at times.
They were. And so I wrote that. I had to learn how to do it. And then I wrote that. And then was one part in it I had, and I don't remember which song it was in the patriotic medley, but it was that halftime show. It was the very first one. I wanted all the kids to converge from where they were in the field to get into a tight ball in the middle. And I could not figure out how to get all these little X's to march into this little ball thing on the program, And finally, and I can still remember Seth Bates. He looked at this with me at that time, and I guess he was still he had just graduated, maybe. You know Seth?
Yeah, he helped out with the saxophones all the time.
Yes, he did. Okay, he's a band director at Mercy High School now.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, he saw it. I could not figure out how to get it to do that, because if you played your cards right and you looked at the band drill on this computer program, you'd see everything getting into shape and moving into morphing into the next shape.
Yeah, remember the 18,000 pages that you would just flip.
Yes.
I used to have
anyway,
one at one point. I think I lost it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I couldn't figure out how to do that. So all I did was I took a blank sheet of paper and put all the X's on the outside. And the next one, I just put this big wad right here. just drew a big old circle right here, and I said, "Everybody get into a roundish wad in the middle of the field." And that's how I said, "Everybody get into a roundish wad in the middle of the field." That was my.
And then make it back after this count.
And then after that, make it back to here. You have those many counts, but don't forget you have to get into a roundish wad in the middle. But. Even after we had a good hee-haw about it,
Yeah.
It worked, but still it's like, well, whatever. So I wrote that one, and I think I wrote one more, and after that I learned you can pay people to do it. It's like, wait, what? And we just allotted money from the boosters to pay. There are a lot of companies out there that will actually write your drill for you. So after that, and I guess I wanted to prove that I could do it. But it was really hard.
And I know you would make really edits. You could still make edits and stuff when we go through. Because I remember you saying in the middle of band practice, well, this is terrible. Let's rewrite this.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. You'd have to rewrite it. I'd stay up the next night trying to rewrite if it knew it wasn't going to work. And then as I was writing it, I'd stand up and I'd try to will this be feasible for this kid? Can he go this way?
How low can he get to get
how
the
low
steps across?
Yeah. And I would try it myself. Okay, if I can do it, and I'm this old, well, this kid can do it. Okay, that kind of thing, So I did it for a couple of years and then decided, okay, yay, I don't have to prove anything because nobody else knows how hard this is. And I know that I can do it if I really have to. But I'm going to get somebody else to do it so I can think about something else and work on other things.
In other areas. Yeah.
So I found somebody out in Texas that did a really good job, and he was very good about calling me. Are you sure you want this here? Is this what you want here? And he tweaked it. He was very good at it. It was very customized, that kind of stuff. And I think they were all like that. But I just dealt with him, and I did with him the rest of the time I was at Cherokee. He did wonderful programs for me, and I was appreciative, very much so. So I didn't do that anymore after the first 2 years. At least I knew how to do it. But also, again, I respected and appreciated people that did it all the time.
Yeah, because you got to be able to make your money. And
that's
huge.
A big task.
And who knows how many that they were doing
at
a time.
There's a lot of them, I'm sure. Yeah.
And you've mentioned the boosters a lot. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that they don't realize because it takes a whole entire army of. Can you give some of those positions and tell us like, hey, this is something that's overlooked constantly that people don't think about?
Oh my gosh, band boosters are. I don't know how any band, high school band, really functions without their band boosters because they do so many things. Not just running that concession stand at halftime because that's a moneymaker,
Yeah, it's a big one.
But getting your band kids to and fro places, the equipment, renting an equipment truck. Other than that, you're gonna have to get people put in the back of their pickup trucks. I mean, that's terrible. Take some of your female students, walk with them to the restroom so they're not go there by themselves to away games.
Always have a buddy.
Always have a buddy. Never go by yourself because you're a target in that uniform.
Yep.
So they would be willing to just everything. Feeding y'all.
That was a big one.
Working with making sure the uniforms, everybody got a uniform that fit and it wasn't 5 feet too long for you. It was hemmed up
and
when it was
amazing.
Supposed to be
there
hemmed
was
up.
5 people that were doing it and they were just like, oh yeah, we've got like hundreds, and they would keep up with all their notes and
Yeah, and they would make sure it's clean when it needs to be. Everybody got a Shako that fit. They would issue you your plumes and take them up right after halftime so they wouldn't get messed up.
Water, running water.
Oh my gosh, the water, the Gatorade. And at band camp, if they had not been around, we would not have the refreshments that we had for y'all to have Gatorade when you so desperately needed it.
Gush and go. Get to your spot. You got 30 seconds.
That's exactly right. Oh gosh, yeah. Those people are just absolutely indispensable, and yet outside of the band boosters, nobody knows their names, that kind of stuff.
True.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, when they see the band on the field, they just see the kids out there and they'll say something about the band director, but there's so many other people. The band boosters are just phenomenal. They're just phenomenal. And they will raise money if you need to buy another set of uniforms.
Yeah.
Or another tuba if you needed another tuba, that kind of
cheap.
stuff. And you only get a set allotment from the county for the whole year for whatever. It'd be if you have to buy a new instrument or all the new music you might have to buy, whatever it is, And you can only buy certain things, or back then, through the county. And after that, it was gone. Because if you had to buy, I forget what, I just pick something out of the air. Say if I had $1,800 a year to buy supplies for band, just say I'd have that. But I needed a new sousaphone, and it's $1,200.
Right there,
gone. That kind of stuff. So they would see what the need is, and they would raise money accordingly. Then they were always in charge of those fundraisers. Yeah. Were you up? Well, your brother probably was, because it kind of petered out when I finally got there. But we used to sell fruit a lot.
Oh yeah, my last year there, my first year there, that we sold fruit, and I had family members that would line up and waiting for those truckloads to come in.
Yes,
and that was a whole day and a half of just unloading those things and filling up the band room, stacking.
Yes, it was,
and getting it all organized. Oh,
yep. When I was at Teasley, Shannon, my oldest daughter, was a band student at Cherokee. So not only was I assistant at Cherokee, but I was part of the band boosters. So when the fruit came in, when she was a student there, I was over there helping unload and that kind of stuff.
I got wrapped into that every year.
Yeah. But it's a big undertaking.
It is. That's a big moneymaker. That's where it was
If
at.
the boosters were not there to do it, be the money to be had, after all that was said and done. And those people, they work like Trojans.
Yeah.
They work
you
really
have to.
hard to do because they appreciate what their children are doing. And they appreciate what's going on. They could be doing so many other things. Their students could be doing so many other things. They're doing this instead. And they know where they are and who they're spending time with.
Yep, exactly. And thank you for everybody that was boosters, just people that volunteer constantly. And it makes the world work whenever you have people like that.
Absolutely.
It really does. Now, what would you say to somebody who's looking at wanting to become a band director or choral director?
First of all, go to college. Get that degree, because that's what you have to have. They won't look at you if you don't have a degree. And teaching certificate. Remember, I had to get my teaching certificate.
Yep. You got the provisional.
Got the provisional, then finally got the real coin. Do it. Go for it. Why not? There's not a stigma anymore of whether you're male or female, I can't believe, I went through that. I'm so glad that it's gone now, I think, at least for band and choral positions. I think they should try it. And if they don't like it, then they don't like it. They will have tried it. And if it's your passion, you'll have a fire that you won't forget. It'll stay with you. What better thing to have said is that what you did for a living was what you were burning to do all your life.
Yeah, and we all have that within us. It's finding it, and it may take us 5 years out of college, or 5 years not even out of high school, 10 years, 15 years. KFC he didn't make his business until the 60s. He was in the 60s.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you see, that's the reason why I only taught for about 20 years, because I was already older when I started the job at Teasley because of that other stuff that happened. And I couldn't find a job when I got out.
Yeah,
to keep at it. Looking back, it almost like fell in my lap.
Yeah.
But not at first, not until after I decided I really wanted it.
That's the thing, is always be persistent and get it. Just know where the line is so you don't push it and burn bridges. but just know where that line is for it.
Again, keep at it. And music school is hard. Don't let anybody tell you it's a breeze. It's hard. For people that aren't in it, my husband, he would hear me listening to stuff, and I'd have to tell him, you have to pull out, analyze pieces of music, and he'd say, why do you have to do all that? I said, you're supposed to understand pieces of music and why they're put together the way they are, that kind of stuff. But nobody understands that, except until you get into it, You just have to go through it, just like engineering school. They go through all the different maths. It's like, and for me, it's like, that's not my bag. But that was my husband's bag.
Yeah, because we all have.
And he persevered.
Minds.
Yeah, and he persevered and got his engineering degree and his PE license and all that kind of stuff. And whatever you do, you need to get in there and do it. There's no substitute.
And there's so many hours that go on for a teacher and a band director. What did your day-to-day, month-to-month kind of deal look like as a director?
First of all, I always tried to get to school early so I could open up the band room so the band kids have someplace to go to.
Hot or cold. I remember freezing out there with my jacket several times just waiting for it to get in.
That's exactly right. And I don't know if you realized it or not, but I wouldn't let anybody else hang in there.
No, yeah, you monitored it, and you had people monitoring it, and we respected it because that's what we had to do.
Well, because if something went missing, it'd be somebody normally that wasn't supposed to be there.
It's true.
Somebody lifted something, or vandalized something. But I was always there early. And I stayed late. I rarely left when the bell rang. After school, I always had some kind of a rehearsal, sectional or full or partial band rehearsals. Rehearsal is a way of life for a musician. It just
Yes, it is.
You rehearse, a bazillion times for that one performance. But that's okay. You need to feel good about what you're doing in public. And you need to feel good in private way before you do it in public.
That's true. That is a very true statement.
I always would have the band room open during lunch. If the kids, I'd hurry up and eat lunch and go back to the band room and open it back up. So if anybody wanted to be in there.
That was my saving grace every year.
The full band was at fourth period. And if you had lunch then and didn't want to be in the lunchroom, you could come in and play with us, And I loved seeing kids come in and play like that.
Yeah, because I got to come in during your lunch break, and me and Billy went through and reorganized the closet.
That's right. I mean, there's another unsung hero is doing what y'all did. Oh my gosh, that thing needed it so badly. And y'all did a stellar job on that.
My thing is I love just being able to listen to music and have some peace and quiet. I was just like, calm, quiet day.
It was awesome for y'all to do that. When I first came to Cherokee, I had to do that myself with the choral music. And it was awful.
Yeah, it was hard. I remember trying to walk in there and stepping over music and trying to find stuff. I was like, huh?
It's from years of people not putting things back where they were. Mm-hmm. And then when I got there, it's like it was like just sort of in any kind of a...
Yeah, there was no rhyme or reason.
It wasn't.
Like, it really wasn't.
It wasn't.
You had marching band and music mixed in with like...
It was
the
awful.
different, and we had to figure out levels of, okay, this is something that would be a, third level. This would be first level. Like, what's going on here? And the filing cabinets were there. They were there.
They were there, yeah. And what really killed me is when I would discover that some of the pieces of music were missing... I found out they were at different schools in Cherokee County.
They'd been borrowed or something.
They'd been borrowed and never brought back. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In fact, when I discovered that and I knew who had them, I was not proud. I would call them and say, "Hey, whoever, I believe you've got my arrangement of Sleigh Ride," or just say that way, and I need it back because I don't have a bass clarinet part anymore because it's gone.
Yeah, it's missing.
And I think you've got it. Maybe.
I've done my math. I'm taking,
and if you look on there, it's probably stamped Cherokee High School Band.
Yeah, a lot of them, they did have that stamps on it, which were great. That was, again, a fun process, challenging process, but I thank you for allowing that.
Are you kidding? Again, unsung hero. Really? Seriously. People have no idea. A librarian's job. Oh my gosh.
I thought that I was going to actually go to school to become a librarian during that time period, but...
Is that right?
Yeah, I thought I was going to. That did not work out. That did not happen.
Okay. Well, but you did... Oh my gosh, that were wonderful to do that. Just, terrific. And when I retired, I was able to hand a thumb drive over to the next person. This is all of our music, cataloged and everything. Blood, sweat, and tears right here. Yeah.
It did take a lot. And
it did.
Going from different seasons, you had bands, that you had the marching season, then you had concert season, then you had this concert to be prepared for. And then you 4 concerts a year that you had to be prepared for. And
oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah.
24 hours a day, and I'm sure that your husband constantly heard about it, as my wife hears constantly about things, and you're having to think at home, like, wait a second, I got an idea. Kind of writing it down, and it never stops as a teacher. There's no clock out.
No,
it is
no.
You clock in when you get hired, and then you never do.
Yeah, well, just like you were asking earlier about the halftime show, random, like 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll go,
cha-ching, there's an idea.
Oh, yeah. I hope I remember that in 4 more hours, so I can write it down. And maybe I better write it down now.
Maybe you should have a little notepad by the bed, something like that.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. Even though this summer, like that, I'm off from school. I'm working on all kinds of stuff to get ready for next year, and I have my fun little side projects that I'm working on. But it's always in the brain. It's always there.
You always want to be a step ahead.
Yes.
You don't want to have a room full of kiddos looking at you like,
huh?
What's next?
You're the example.
Yeah.
You're
no,
the
you
leader.
should know what's next. You're in charge. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I forgot about that.
I forgot
Really?
about that.
Okay. Now, I have some questions from some former students that I'm going to ask.
Okay.
And they've been filtered through. Most of them might be my family, but it's okay.
Okay.
But the first question comes from Corey Curtis, my brother. He was always curious about your phone collection because you always had all kind of phones all over the place. You had a working payphone in your house.
Still do.
At one point, it's still working, but and you lost some of those through the fire as well when that happened. He would like to know about your crazy phone collection.
Well, okay. Paul and I we like all things old, I guess. Nostalgia stuff, whatever. It doesn't make any difference. We've always liked antiques. I mean, for some crazy reason, both of us have always loved phones. And it just started when we would go to antique stores. When we were first married, we had no money. And so, like most newlyweds, we lived in Chamblee, and old downtown Chamblee was Antique Row. And the antique, there would be auctions that you could go to for nothing. One was on Monday nights, and one was on Friday night, and it wasn't necessarily the same antique stores. And so the only thing that would cost you is if you bought a Coke there, or a hot dog.
Merchandise.
And after you actually bought something. So most of the time, we just
Hang out.
it would be entertainment. We'd get to go out from our four walls, in the house and to someplace else. And also you kind of learning, that kind of
Auctioneers
stuff.
are fun. That's the reason why I got my license
I
and
love
stuff.
auctions, but you can get into trouble.
Oh yeah, very quickly.
Yeah. One night we stayed we usually stayed to the bitter end. And one night, everything that passed through were buffets for some beautiful old buffets,
Oh, wow.
So the buffet that we have now, we paid $15 for it because we stayed to the bitter end.
And if you wait till the bitter end as well, the things that don't sell, they just bulk them together sometimes.
Yes, they do the bundle. Yes,
Yep.
they do. And the box lot stuff. Yeah. So we did that, and we just began seeing stuff. And I don't remember what it was. The first thing that we actually bought was probably the phone that's by our bedside. It looks like the phone you see on I Love Lucy.
Oh, cool.
The 1940s, 1950s.
Yep.
It's in the cradle, and when it hangs up, it goes if you're on the other end and hear it hanging up. So that was the first one, and the receiver is so heavy, if you clock somebody on the head, you'd probably kill them or maim them really, really, really bad.
So that's why it's by your nightstand, because it's self-defense.
There you go. We just loved that look. And then every time we would see one that was where we could afford it, because some of them are just crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And worked, because if you couldn't get them to where you could get into the phone jack, you couldn't use them. The new phone jacks that are out now. I mean, they've been out for eons, but before then they had those cloth cords.
Yep, that were just kind of
and
wired in
the
there.
phone
Those can
man
die
had to wire
very
them in
quickly.
for you. Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's how that is. And then one year, I told Paul, I said, we need us a payphone. We need us a payphone. That was when Southern Bell was taking out all the rotary dial payphones and
Putting the button
and putting in
pushers.
the button ones. And I knew somewhere I had heard somebody say they just have them piled in the back of the Bell buildings, and they're just for
Wow.
nothing,
Yeah.
Well, I tried to find somebody that worked for Southern Bell that would get me one, but it didn't happen, and so I wound up having to buy one at an antique store in Chamblee again, and that's the one that was in the bathroom. And when and we had bypassed the coin box, obviously, but it still works, so you can actually
Be able to make calls.
you can make a call. That was the only one that really got messed up in the house fire, because the house fire started in the kitchen, and that was in our powder room, which is behind the kitchen, right where the heart of the fire was. And so it's had some melted parts in it, but it still worked. So we took it when we were renovating the house after the fire. Still working, but it looks a little melty sad. He's hanging out in the garage.
Oh, cool.
So we still have him, and he smells like he's been through a barbecue.
But the story and the joy there, that's with it.
Yes, But we got another one, and it works fine. It's in that powder room in the bathroom, and you can, if it rings, you can answer it and talk to folks if you're busy in there.
Oh, man, that's definitely interesting. That's something that I've only done a handful of times.
We have in Katie's the room that she used to have when my kids lived at home. She's got the candlestick one, like you see on the Andy Griffith
yeah,
show. That one's
pick
in
up.
there.
Yeah.
It's got a ring box underneath it. The ring box is separate from it. You never see the ring box. You only see the candlestick. But when I've learned that when the kids are home, I turn the ringers off, because that ringer will wake up the dead.
Well, had to at that point, because we only had one in a
That's
house.
true.
You need to be able to hear it outside or inside when
Yeah.
they're making a call in.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
yeah. The only real phones we have in the house, we got what I call toy phones, is the ones that have batteries in, that's got the base you can walk around. I mean, doesn't have a cord.
Yeah, the cordless phones.
Yeah, the
they've
cordless
got.
phones. I have a cordless phone, and I have one that's just a regular wall mount phone in the kitchen with a regular cord on it. But those are the only two real phones like today phones.
Yeah.
Rest of them are all retro. You hadn't seen them here lately.
No, I have not.
Completely filled up on shelves in our basement.
I know the shelving was starting whenever we were there, that you had a bunch of different stuff going through.
Yeah. Well, Paul has since decided he loves all things chrome. He loves,
Wasn't one of it waffle irons?
waffle irons,
Yeah.
toasters, coffee pots,
Yeah.
cocktail shakers, and things like
Okay.
that. It's unbelievable, but they have that gorgeous 1930s, 1940s to 1950s look.
The patina
That
and stuff.
it's
that
just
looks good.
gone. Nobody makes stuff that looks
Nope.
gorgeous like that anymore. If it does, it has that weird retro look.
With a box light and things like that they had the little plastics and stuff.
Bakelite.
Bakelite.
Mhm.
I should.
The Bakelite, and then we still have the phones that were trendy. There was one that looks like it was a Swedish phone that was when the first push button phones came in. So to hang it up, you just stood it up.
Oh,
I
okay.
have about 3 of those down in the basement, and then there's some of them is called genie phone or pancake phone. I don't know what the heck they are. They look like one just looked like a melted pancake. But anyway, they're all different kinds down there, including one that a guy that would one of the the telephone guys. When they used to have to climb the poles,
Man,
they'd have a little
yes.
sort of a telephone on their hip. It was just really the receiver, and they would clock into the
Be able to
the
plug
thing
it in to be able
so I've
to
got
do
one
it.
of those downstairs.
That's
you know.
cool.
Yeah, there's some interesting things down there, and for people to take the time to go through them, if you're even interested in that kind of stuff. We just like that stuff. It's just different.
Yeah, everybody's got to have that joy, that thing that's there.
Yes.
I have a record collection that's 500 plus pieces.
There you go.
And
Well,
so,
me
like-
too. Okay,
like, it's
all
just
righty.
one of
There you
those
go.
things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's had to have that.
Yep.
Question number 2 from
Okay.
Joseph Mize.
Okay.
Of
Hey,
what was
Joe.
your favorite halftime show?
Oh gosh. Huh. Wow. Crickets.
Yeah, no, that's a hard one.
That is a hard
Because
one.
you have some that you put your heart and soul in that you've done, and
Yes.
sometimes that it's just like, oh man, that just kind of worked and it had the right people there. We can come back to that one if you want to.
I like the Pirates. I'm not sure if that's my favorite or not. I did like the Pirates. It was, oh gosh, I don't know. There's just some cool stuff out of every single one of them. Like for the Paul Simon one, I just thought You Could Call Me Al was great. Heck.
Them all.
That is so difficult.
Yeah, whenever he sent me that question on his honeymoon, I'm like, what do you want to hear? He goes, this is my question. And I was like, okay.
I will see. I can tell you, I can see him. He was the head of the trombone section when we did Fun Factory.
Yep.
I'm almost positive. Yeah. Because at the end we did That's All Folks, that the Looney Tunes song was one of the end things, and we were coming across, and I can still see him fussing at the trombone kids because they were not carrying their horns parallel. They were letting their slides droop, and he
Yep.
was making them march with their tennis shoes tied to the end of the slide.
Very diligent.
I still see that.
Very diligent.
In fact, I thought of him the other day when I saw that, because our grandson Theo, he just finished his first year in beginning band as a trombonist.
Oh, cool.
And now he's going to, they already start band camp starting in seventh grade. He'll be
Wow.
seventh grade. And I don't know if they do some marching band or not, but I was telling him about that we would have students, the leadership tying
Gotta make
shoes
it
to
work.
the end of
Gotta
the
make it
slide. And I
work.
thought immediately of Joseph.
Joe will have a laugh at that when he hears this. He'll have a laugh about that one. I'm sure he'll be listening to this on his bread route, and he'll hear it and just have a good chuckle. You gotta have those little memories on that.
Oh gosh,
And
yeah.
I'm thankful that you allowed Joe and I to come back because we didn't march junior year. We got upset.
Well, yeah, you
Yeah.
had something going on.
No, we got upset with the choice of halftime show that came up.
Oh, you didn't like the Fun Factory.
No, it wasn't fun. That was Ancient Civilizations.
With Troy.
Yeah, we were a little upset
yeah.
about that and a little frustrated with it. And I remember we were making the decision if we're going to do this or we're not going to do this. And Joe's came down to, I'm going to try out for drum major. And I just tried out, even though I knew I wasn't going to because I was terrible. But he tried out and he goes, this is going to be my deciding factor if I do it or not, and come back in. And I had already decided that I just wasn't going to do it. And I remember we both walked out and I go, whenever we did, I was like, are we going to be allowed to come back next year? Because we were like, we're going to march next year no matter what. And you opened us up with open arms, and Joe was head of the trombones and everything. I was like, okay, thankfully that we got to come back.
Well, now you didn't completely stay away.
I
You
didn't.
did the
I did.
chariot thing,
Yep,
didn't you?
I did because of one of the actors got hurt, and it was
I remember
the
that at all.
last 4 games of the year. And
You had to
the
wear a
last
broom on
festival.
your head,
Yep.
on the helmet. We had
Yep.
to put that on there. Yeah,
And I remember my first night of doing it, I forgot to wear pants, like white pants underneath it. So I was literally just laying there, my underwear hanging out whenever I got killed at the end of the first game. I remember it clear as day. I was embarrassed.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I mean, That was, and I couldn't stay away. It's just, but I remember marching festival with the last festival I did in the last 4 games of the year. Yeah, 'cause I couldn't stay away, but it was just weird of not being a part of it that one year.
Yeah.
And then, but getting back with Welcome Arms, and that's, it's part of who
Glad
you were
to
at the
have
same
you
time.
back. Just, things happen.
Yeah. Life happens. Life goes on with it.
Yeah.
My mom has a question of, did your family have to change schedules or make sacrifices to meet the demands of being a band and chorus teacher?
They knew I was never going to be home.
Yeah.
During marching season, they knew I was gone. Well, when I was at Teasley, my girls were still at home, but while I was at Teasley, they graduated from high school and then went off to college. And then, after you go off to college, most kids don't ever actually live back at home.
That's
Not
true.
really, And so by the time I got the job at Cherokee, where I was head of everything, and so the buck stops here stuff, you needed to be there to answer questions or whatever, supervise everything. So you were there the whole time, all the time. And I truly was not home much. They weren't home either. They were already gone away from there, flew the nest. So I didn't have to worry about that. Paul learned my schedule. He knew that Monday nights I was really late with marching practice, because I had that late. That was when we could get on the game field. It was just Monday nights.
Really late.
Late. It was like till 9 o'clock.
I remember, unfortunately, walking through the practice field at the bottom. There was a sewage issue, and we were walking through poop a couple times, and I'm like,
I know, yeah. We actually got doing the game field on Monday nights, but not on Thursdays because that's the day before games. So.
Yep.
So anyway, and he knew I'd be late Mondays, really late on Mondays, and then of course Thursday, and then Friday night, and then if we had marching band on Saturday. I mean, it was just marching season.
to cover your life.
It was just mostly it was at school. I mean, if you spotted somebody's car in the parking lot, it was probably mine. That's okay.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen, and I was okay with it. Because I knew in order for things to be like I wanted them to be, I needed to be there.
Yep, putting in the time, and that's
and
what
Paul
all
knew
good
that
teachers
too.
do.
Paul knew that too, so he didn't begrudge me of that.
You got to have that at-home husband, kids that understand and make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is. It's a community. Garrison Copeland's question was, can you talk about a challenging point in your career, and how did you get through it?
Challenging part?
A point, like, hey, maybe I'm at a breaking point, or maybe there's something that I'm done. Who knows? Like, what was a challenging point in your career?
Let me think if there's anything at Teasley. I don't think there's anything at Teasley because it wasn't quite as involved as the high school. For the high school, let's see if there's anything. I always felt like I had to fight with the athletic director because we were expected to really get everything on the field like we needed to do. But yet, we were not allowed to be on the field, but just a teeny tiny limited amount of time.
Yes.
I wouldn't say that was, that I can't pinpoint just one time, but that was always a sore spot to me, that we almost felt like redheaded stepchild, that kind of stuff. I just felt like he questioned the things that we did way more than he needed to, and tried to make my life harder than what it really was, because they really guarded that game field, which is, that's the stadium field.
Sacred grounds.
It's like sacred grounds, that kind of stuff. So we were not allowed to get on it except Monday nights. After the football team left, if they were practicing on it, we had to wait till they left so we could get on it. And then he would have spies that would try to tell on us. So oh my gosh, what world are we living in that you're tattling on folks? But anyway, somehow it got to him that we had gotten on the game field when we weren't supposed to, and I never crossed that line because I knew what world I was living in.
Yes.
And if you remember there at where my office was at the band room, between my office and the band room was a ladies' restroom.
Yeah.
Well, that's the restroom I used as the lady, And it was during my planning one time, and it was during marching season. I'd excuse myself to the restroom, and it was, again, I didn't have any kids. I was in there by myself. And I hear somebody knocking, hollering, Mrs. Mullins, Mrs. Mullins. And he's finally knocking on the ladies' room door. I'm in here. It was him. Y'all were on the game field. And I said, my sources tell me.
Okay, sources, wow.
Sources tell me. And when I said, well, when I get out of here,
we'll talk.
I'll
Yeah.
talk to you in just a few minutes. Let me finish right here.
More
My
important
gosh.
business. Yeah.
I mean, really, I'm in the restroom. Hello. I'm not camping out and having lunch in here. So I finished and got out of the restroom and I said, now listen, you have given me these rules. Why would I go over them? Because you take even more stuff away from me. Somebody's feeding you a line. This is not right. We didn't do that. You need to go talk to whoever's told you this. Of course, he never divulged who it was, obviously. Well, they just, and it was, he never apologized. And that was always a source of discomfort, like a thorn. Like, Jiminy Christmas, why you do that?
True.
Why is that? If we didn't get on the field during halftime show, then somebody'd be fussing at us for not being there.
Yeah, exactly.
So how come you're not marching halftime?
I remember getting run off the field a couple times because the players would come onto the field before we were finished, and the timer was coming to an end. And I'm like, "This is a American Pie being done right here. The marching band refused to yield. We're going to continue playing."
That's exactly right. And we only did it. We stayed there until they had to. Cause I looked at the people around me when that would be happening at the sidelines, because I was always standing at the sidelines.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, we're not moving till we get to where I say come off, and then we'll come off together.
Yep. And we did.
Yeah.
We did. And I just felt it was so disrespectful when that happened.
That was so.
They're coming out kicking a football. And I remember one time it bounced into the middle of the formation.
Yes. I don't know why they thought that was a fun thing to do, but that was so wrong. And here's the flip. What are they teaching those kids?
True. And I didn't like whenever we were in playing, you're like, okay, we can't play right now. Or in the stands, and we can only play at certain times. And then they're like, play right now. And we're like, we're not ready because we were, having to sit and wait for your cue, and we can't drop it on a dime.
No. And then there would be times where your band's too loud in the stands. I had the athletic director come up. Y'all are too loud right now.
What else?
So
are
when we play,
we're
we're supposed to be quieter. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we only think I don't even know if it was one season or not, that never had a pep band for the basketball team.
Yeah.
We did it one time, I remember in middle school. Because I'm like, I would have played pep band and that for the basketball games. I would have done stuff like that, but we didn't have it.
You know why? Because they only wanted canned music. And they only wanted the band to be there to play like 2 times in like 2 hours or something like that.
Wow,
it's not
that's
worth
a
your
waste.
time.
Yeah,
it's not worth my time. They have other things to do besides stand around and wait to be able to play twice in 2 hours for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you didn't set that up then. But I'm sad that we weren't able to actually do something more enjoyable.
I know. And I learned that at Teasley because, we would do at least 2 of the home games at Teasley, but we were there for several hours. And we were allowed to play at halftime after the cheerleaders finished all their stunts because they did it to canned music. And then for a while we were able to do it between quarters. And then we were told we couldn't do that because then the coaches their players couldn't hear them talking to them when they were talking to them because the band was playing in the gym. And I can kind of understand
it echoes.
Yeah, because it is really hot. It is really loud. But when you saw away all those things for the reason why the band is supposed to be there and take it all away, it's just not worth their time and effort.
True.
And then you don't want to have just 3 people show up because what kind of a band is that going to sound like?
Yeah.
And then then when you do try to play, people say like, the band was terrible tonight. There was only 3 people there.
Yeah. I wonder why. And
I didn't want anybody to say anything bad about my band kids. I just didn't.
Yeah.
It just felt like, they were just personally wounding me. They had no idea. Well, the band just sounded terrible. I said, wait. Do you know what they go through?
What we do on a daily basis. Yeah. I always make the comment to my kids. I call them my kids.
There you go.
All of you are my kids. There's 100+ of you.
That's it.
And no matter what, even if we don't get along on stuff, you're still my kid. And sometimes I'm going to give you some tough love because you need it. And if there's something going on in the hallway, I'm going to help you out. And I'm going to try to pull you in the best I can. I keep food. I keep stuff available for they need something. You can come to me. And it's because you got to,
Yeah. For years, I knew I had a diabetic in the band. I always kept mints in my pocket for him.
Yeah, I always keep different foods because I know I have peanut allergies in the classroom. I know that I have all this stuff in. And it's one of those challenges.
It is. Yeah.
And I have 2 questions of myself for you that literally popped up during the middle of our conversations.
Oh,
Like things that popped into memory is, I would like to know if your Bahamas fund ever made you get down to the Bahamas.
You mean Tahiti?
Tahiti. Man, I got it wrong.
Tahiti.
Got it wrong.
No, I've never been to Tahiti. But Amber Orr did, I think she went there.
All that money we did, where did it go?
The Tahiti fund that y'all thought it went to, I bought reeds for
Gotcha.
for the classroom. But and that's all it ever was for reeds. But I called it my Tahiti fund.
Yep.
But when who was it that graduated? It was Sam Mullinex's class, maybe. That when they graduated, they gave me this gallon jug, and on the outside they had put Ms. Mullins Tahiti fund. I still have that jar.
That's amazing.
It's got a few bucks in it, but I never even counted how much money's in it. I just the fact that they were giving me a Tahiti and they actually remembered that.
Yeah, it popped back in my head of the memory when we're talking through this stuff.
Yeah, I told Paul not too long ago. I had always said about going to Tahiti. Maybe we should actually go there sometime.
I think you need to, and to be able to say you actually did use those funds. Is that we used those funds to go.
Oh no, that I would be stealing. No.
The last question I had that popped back in my head, whenever I got to ride in the car with you, or when I would hear stories of people that had rode with you, was, do you still play the game now with your grandchildren of what key signature is this in and what timing it is when we're playing the car?
Yes, especially if they were trying out for drum major. Yeah. I was relentless with my girls because when they were wanting to become drum majors, what is this in? What makes this different, and why is this different right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still do that.
Good. That's something that I think was very important. It stuck in my head.
In fact, Theo is my little trombone player, grandson that's trombone player.
Up in Rome?
In Rome, yeah, in Rome. He's Shannon's only child. They were at our house this weekend, and what the heck was I talking to him about? Oh no, it was my other grandchild, my trumpet player, Parker. He lives over in Huntsville. He just got through they have a band camp, and it's not a marching band because it's still middle school. But it's to be a better player. So they have sectionals, and then they can branch out into classes like marching class or conducting class or anything like that. He chose to do a conducting class, and okay. So, let me see your patterns. Show me what your 2 pattern is. Let me see what your 3 pattern is. Did y'all do 6/8? Let me see your 6 pattern.
It's important. It's fun. It's something that's stuck in my memory.
Well, okay. Well, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, unfortunately, I do that still.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Well, it's just not profane, so
It's true. Do you have any last minute advice, things that perhaps we didn't discuss that you would like to share?
Wow. First of all, I'm honored that you ever thought there'd be something I was worthy of being having somebody listen to. I just can't believe that. Still, I find that hard to believe.
You were in my top 10 of people to get to, and it took me a while to kind of get down the list of things and trying to work out. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate that. I guess the biggest thing in my whole life is I always wanted my band kids to have a really good and memorable experience to where when they look back, it didn't dredge up, horrible thoughts. It was always really heartwarming, if you want to say it that way. Really good memories of belonging to something that was positive in their life. That's it, really. Whether it's me or somebody else, I want them to have had a really good experience and to carry that with them forever. And the time spent doing that provided positivity, and that they grew in a positive way because of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Great words.
Well, I'm sure every teacher probably feels that way.
But that's when you know you're a good teacher. And that's to know you love what you're doing and that you're doing it for the right reasons.
Well, I'm glad to know that. Yeah. I just started out because I wanted to do it.
Yeah. You had the music in you.
Yeah, that's true. That's weird.
I want to thank you for spending your time with me this afternoon.
Oh, shoot, yeah.
This episode is going to be split into 2 halves. So those that were with us from the beginning.
Oh, my God.
We're at 2 hours and 5 minutes.
I can't believe that.
Whenever
I yacked a lot.
For those that split between and been with us on both rides, thank you for sticking in with this. This has been a blast. And I mean, your words are true for me. It still sticks in my heart for music all the time. I make it a point to go to my band and art and chorus concerts at school.
Good. That support. That's so important.
I wish I saw more teachers going to it and just sitting there. And I try to make it a point to go to, if I have a kid that's involved with sport or that's involved with any form of arts, I try to at least make it one thing that's constantly just to show them, hey, I'm here, I'm here. And even though, it may have taken a little bit of time out of my day, but it builds that relationship.
Oh, gosh,
it goes a long way.
When I was at Cherokee, at Teasley, the principal always came to our concerts. Mm-hmm. And at Cherokee, there was always supposed to be an administrator at the concerts. But at my last concert, the one that I was fixing to retire out of, nobody from the front office came.
What?
I can still remember that. Nobody came. And all I could think of was, not necessarily for me, but the fact of the matter is that my students knew that none of them came.
For the kids, yeah.
Because I always ask for, if you're an administrator, will you please stand up and be recognized? And I did that, and there wasn't anybody there.
Man, that hurts. That hurts a lot.
I felt bad for the kiddos, especially the seniors. That was their last ride.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And again, that goes all the way back to that teacher that I had in junior high school when I came back and told her I was doing music. She said, "Oh, Pam, I thought you'd do better than that." Where's that support?
Yeah, that's true. Again, thank you for coming out, spending this time with me, sitting on my back
love that.
porch and hearing
listening to the birdies and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, my woodpecker that's still annoying.
I heard
taking
that.
over my spots. Zin, my cat's now making an appearance. I think he wants inside.
Now, Roxy.
But as we all know, the way I end out my podcast, for those that are here, those made it to the very end, thank you. If you want to reach out to me, I can be reached at cade, which is spelled CADE, at learningfromfriends.com. You can reach out to me on Facebook, on Learning from Friends podcast. As well, you can reach out on Twitter as well to go through that. It may take me a little while to get back to you, but I appreciate every single listener that's coming out. And also, the catchphrase before I leave, thank you for coming out, as I am your tour guide, Cade Curtis, on Learning from Friends. And most of all, don't forget, let your curiosity fly high.